Hello and welcome to another edition of The Morning Serve. Emma Lawrence alongside Todd Woodbridge. Todd, we're going to start with a positive, and having these crowds been absolutely incredible. The first day we had over 87,000 and day two, something similar. What do you put it down to? Do you think the combination of starting on the Sunday has got everyone even more excited?
Well, the Australian Open, it's back. I mean, the COVID years were tough, people starting to get back out, but this tournament just continues to be It's perfect in a way. All the works are done. It's got a lot of room for people to be out and about, and people come for the atmosphere, right? You may not be a massive tennis fan, but there's still atmosphere. There's food, there's drinks, there's music. There is tennis on the big screens, and then of course if you can get into the show courts, it's brilliant. But I mean, the people have said what they want, haven't they? The Sunday start was an absolute hit. They came in droves, and we won't be going back to a Monday start, that's for sure.
So 100% lock it in from you. We want a Sunday next year.
How could you not? Yeah. Because the people have voted. They voted by their attendance.
All right, let's get stuck into what has been dubbed this group of death as such. We've got Iga Swiatek, the world #1. So she no doubt is one of the hot favourites here. So too, we have Sofia Kenin, she's playing, but then whoever gets through that one in the second round will play either Angelique Kerber or Danielle Collins.
Yeah.
Is it really the toughest part, or is it more just because they're all champions that it seems that way?
Well, it is a ridiculous little section of the draw, but you've got Iga Swiatek, who's the most dominant player really in the world at the moment, which is really tough to see her going out against these three. But Kerber's coming back, nice form, but not anywhere near her peak at the moment. Seeing her in Sydney, there's a long way to go, but she's going to get better every single match that she plays. Kenin, of course, the former champion, but has also struggled, was away from the game. But she's still capable of doing some damage. And then you got Collins, who knows, if she's in a mood and she's hitting the ball well, she can do anything. But Iga is here, and the others are here.
You mentioned Sofia Kenin, champion here back in 2020, but yeah, we haven't seen as much of her and hadn't had as much success. Where has she been, and what do you think has happened?
Well, there's, the thing about being successful in tennis is it's not all about what you see out on court. There is, how is your life going off the court? And she's had a few issues, some issues with family. She's had appendicitis that took her out of the game for a period, and she's had injuries. So she's literally been out of the game for 12, 18 months over that last 3 years. That's a long time. And then she's slowly bouncing back. I think she's starting to get to the levels that she was at when she won this tournament. But what happens, the older you get, the more scar tissue is, the more demons sit in there, and where you thought you're invincible, now you think, oh, am I or not? And that's part of what experience is. She's got the feeling here, though, in Australia of knowing that she's played her best tennis. And if you can just bring that and work on those memories, then you actually can go okay. But look, I think she's on her way back to the tennis that we saw her win this tournament.
Can you see her winning another one?
Not yet, but in the women's game, it's about momentum and confidence. And if you can get both of those together, anything can happen. We've seen that with Ostapenko, we've seen that with Kenin, we saw that with Collins getting that run to the final before she lost to Ash Barty. The women's game is a little bit different with that. They're all great ball strikers, and it comes down to keeping that momentum and the consistency, and it's not always easy.
I guess the same really applies for Angelique Kerber, 35 years old, also had a break after the birth of her child, and she's a 3-time Grand Slam winner, former world #1, but are her best days behind her? Is she going to have a chance to
I don't want to say their best days behind her, because she is a champion. And when you talk about consistency, that's what Kerber has had all throughout her career. If you can win 3 of the 4 majors, I think it was 3 of the 4, right? She's at least won the US, and she's won Wimbledon. And she won here? Multiple.
So she can do it again.
She can do it.
She can do anything.
But for her, it's about rebuilding the strength in the body. When you see some of the women that have had a child come back, they're actually come back physically stronger, but they've got to get used to a change of body, and that's like that with her. Svitolina's come back stronger, a bigger game, and if Kerber can get matches under her belt, she's going to be dangerous. It just it'll take her a little longer than this first block of tournaments to be able to do that.
All right, let's talk about the men's draw. Novak Djokovic, hot favourite to win his 11th crown here at Melbourne Park, but we've got this young crop coming through that we've been talking about for a long time. Carlos Alcaraz, the world #2. Is he the best of the lot that's really going to challenge Novak?
Of course he is. I mean, when you've won Wimbledon and you've won a US Open, you're not just sort of an up-and-comer anymore. You are there. And he hasn't been back to Australia since he's won both of those majors. I think our fans here are going to absolutely be knocked for six at how good he actually is, how exciting he is, how dynamic he is. The only thing coming into this tournament is that in the end of the season, he didn't play as well, and he came off his level slightly. But that's to be expected. He's young. He's still building experiences. He doesn't have Juan Carlos Ferrero, his coach here at the Australian Open. He's had some knee surgery and isn't at the tournament. So he's got a different team around him for this one as well. Can he beat Novak? Well, we know he can. He is certainly the contender. My favourite, though, to win their first slam is Jannik Sinner. Yeah. He's the one that has come in with the back end of the year being exceptionally good, having beaten Novak twice. And once you can do that, you start to believe you belong. Next thing for him is to be able to do it over 5 sets.
You mentioned the fact that the confidence Carlos will get from having done it twice before, US Open and Wimbledon. But how do you like him on these surfaces? And will it be trickier here at the Australian Open as opposed to the others?
Well, the thing about Carlos is he can play on all surfaces. Yeah. So, you know, I saw him the year before last at Wimbledon, said, yes, he can win on grass. I didn't think it was going to be in 2023. He wins Queen's Club, has that confidence to go on and win there. I think the US Open is maybe a slightly better speed than here at the Australian Open. We know that this is Novak's court. It suits his game perfectly, the way the speed and the bounce height is. But yes, he can play brilliantly here. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can deliver.
For the Aussies, Ajla Tomljanovic were all right behind her. She had a tough year last year with that knee injury, but coming back, what have you made of her return?
So it's been hard for her to find the form that saw her reach 3 quarterfinals, 2 at Wimbledon, and then of course beating Serena on the way to the US Open. But this year, courtesy of the United Cup, she has got better and better. Now, she had a few losses along the way, but because the team was still going, she was able to get out on court. Now, she had a loss to Kerber in a tiebreak in the third. She should have won that. She had match points to do that. I think the game is coming, and it's just about consistency of tournaments and matches and being out on court. And what's happened at the start of this season, which in talking to her mum briefly over in Perth, is that the great news is the body's coping. The knee is good. There is no pain. And if that's the case, that takes the doubt away from the mind, and that's what's essential for her to have a good tournament here.
And listening to her as well, she doesn't seem to be putting any pressure on herself, which is great.
She understands. Yeah. She's mature and is realistic about what is required to be back at that level. And
she's using that protected ranking. Do you think, in terms of the females, the Aussies in the draw, she is our best hope here this year?
Oh, I think so, but you know, you've got Daria Saville, who's you know, potentially going to go well also. But Isla's the one with experience. She's the one that knows if she can get going with a bit of a draw, she can pull on those memories and those thoughts of what it was like to get through to the quarters. And I don't think she feels pressure about playing here in Australia. I think it's about getting, I've used the word a few times, the momentum. Get the momentum in these events and you run. And you can be feeling a little low in confidence, get one win in that first round, and then you can rise.
In terms of the Aussie men, we had 15 in the main draw this year, which is the most we've had since '98. And speaking of momentum, Max Purcell at the back end of last year in August, he knocked over Casper Ruud, Stan Wawrinka, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Where did that form come from last year, do you think?
Well, I've got to tell you, Max is a confident guy. He backs himself. But you know, he plays a different type of tennis. He plays a bit more what I call an old style tennis. He'll mix stuff up. He'll throw in a slice forehand. He's a very good volleyer. He'll serve and volley. He plays a game style that if a lot of the players out on tour don't play against, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. That's where those wins came from. Now, he's in a position where he believes he's a top 100 player, top 50 player. I told you he's got confidence. He thinks, and I think he is almost the best doubles player in the world, and he's not playing all the time. I really like what he brings, but it's just actually talk about confidence. He's got swagger. And does that help him going in to a match potentially against Casper Ruud? I'm not so sure it does. Ruud's a 3-time finalist in majors, and I thought what we saw in the United Cup from him was very, very good. Last year, Ruud was here with a lot of expectation, didn't handle it so well. He's come in with a very different attitude at this Australian Open. He's got a big chance to go well, but Max Purcell's got a big chance to create some upsets.
So given he does have that confidence and that swagger and the home crowd here behind him, how far do you think he really can go?
Listen, if he can get through round one, that's good. If he can get through Ruud, that's going to be even better. I don't want to put any pressure on him. I think it's a day-by-day proposition. But when you take it that way, you actually think about Rinky Hijikata at the US Open, who as a wild card gets through to the round of 16. There are great stories and bits of drama that all unfold through here without putting too much expectation on people.
And we know someone who loves headlines and drama at times. Thanasi Kokkinakis probably didn't have the best lead-in as he would have liked and didn't have the best form in Adelaide, where he usually is great. 27 years old now. How would you assess where Thanasi Kokkinakis is at in his career?
That's a tough question to answer, because form and confidence can be fleeting. But then this year, he comes into the tournament with a bit of rest behind him.
Yeah.
You want the confidence of what he's had in Adelaide in winning the tournament, but at least when you're here, he's fresh, he doesn't have niggles. This could be the year he actually does his very best at the Australian Open. Because of that, just got to get through a round. What he does really well here at the Australian Open, though, is he uses the crowd. Whether he's on Court 3, Key Arena, wherever he may be, and I think it's actually better that he isn't on Rod Laver Arena, because he's more of a people's person, court type guy, where he can use them to the best of his ability. He loves this environment, and that's what he's got to remember, is to put himself in a position to be able to use the crowds, then he can go well. But tennis is tough, Emma. It's tough. There are no guarantees that you're going to play well in, week out, and you're going to have patches throughout your career where it's tough. 27 is not that old in tennis anymore. 27 is just about when he's coming into his prime, and he's had a lot of injuries, and if he can stay fit, he's capable of doing very well.
Ranked 80 in the world at the moment, so there's 5 of the Aussie males ahead of him, but do you think he really is better than that ranking suggests?
Well, rankings don't lie, right? So it's about, again, I've used the word consistency. It's about him being consistent on all surfaces. I think Thanasi's best surface is obviously hard court. He had a great Roland Garros last year, beat Stan Wawrinka in a terrific match. However, grass. Grass is a surface that he needs to go and work on and improve his game. There are a few holes on the backhand side. Cover those holes up, improve those, get on the grass and do some good results. The ranking won't be 80, it'll be 50 or it'll be 40. And that's one part of a season that he hasn't played well in throughout his career. So you've got a block in Australia that's usually good, a little bit of clay, no grass, and then you're relying on the back end on the hard court season. It's tough to do it that way. You've got to play well on all surfaces always throughout the year, then your ranking's going to be higher than 80.
So he's got the fans behind him, he's well rested, but if we're getting that crystal ball out, realistically, how far do you think Thanasi can go?
Got a good opening draw, plays Offner. So that's one, yes, he'll be looking at that going, that's good, I can win that. Then potentially it could be Dimitrov. Now, that's a different one, right? Dimitrov comes off a successful run in Brisbane, winning a title. But if you're going to go deep, you've got to take out a seed. And I think the style of Dimitrov, it won't hurt Thanasi as much as some others will. He gives a bit of slice, that gives Thanasi time on the ball. But the key for Thanasi to play well, serve big, use the forehand. And when he does that, we've seen the players that he can beat. But like in any major, you're going to have a big result. And that's going to be key in round 2.
Yeah, and the fans, as always, will be right behind him
Sure
because
will.
he is a fan favourite. Todd Woodbridge, appreciate your time as always, and we will see everyone tomorrow for another edition of The Morning Serve.
Wide World of Sports is your home of the Australian Open.
With highlights of every match of the AO, the on-court interviews, and every day with The Morning Serve, you'll be ahead of the game.
So click that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing this Australian Open.